Hi everybody, welcome to knifemakertraining.com. I'm Ed Caffrey, ABS Mastersmith, and today Tim and I are going to do a video review on the KMG TX grinder. Just not too long ago, I ordered the chassis simply because I had the motor and all the accessories I needed and everything, and also because I run 3-horse motors on my grinders. But anyway, you know, I've been, I don't know whether you call it fortunate or unfortunate enough to use just about every grinder out there on the market. And I'm not going to mention any specific grinders during this video, but there are a lot of grinders that are wannabe grinders. And I think there's a lot of people out there trying to take advantage of the current popularity of custom knife making. I call them the Johnny-come-lately grinder makers. You know, they make their stuff out of flimsy, lightweight stuff, make it as cheaply as possible, then turn around and sell it for as much as they can and make as much profit. And I guess that's all fine and dandy if you want to fall in for the cheapest grinder on the market, but cheapest is not always the best. And best can be defined by, by a lot of different terms. For me, it's all about versatility. It's all about the thoughtfulness of design. It's all about being solid, heavyweight. What you're seeing here on this bench represents 20 plus years of KMG grinders. This is the original KMG grinder that I bought from Rob Frink at Beaumont Metalworks. I think we're at about 21 or 22 years ago. This grinder has probably ground, I would venture to say, 5,000 plus knife blades in that time frame. I would say probably that easily. The only thing I've ever had to do to this is some very minor maintenance, you know, replace some bearings, particularly in these smaller wheels. By the way, this is actually what we called the Caffrey Platen. This is a platen that I designed years and years ago, and Rob at Beaumont actually made it for a while. And it's just a much handier platen in that you've got an 1.5 inch, a 3-inch flat platen. You can spin it around for a slack belt. You know, just a lot of advantages. And I'm one of these guys, when I get to grinding, I don't want to screw around changing attachments and playing this and that and the other. So, but anyway, I'm regressing. Let me get to this grinder. You know, really obvious looking at this machine. Rob at Beaumont put a lot of thought and a lot of thoughtful features into this machine. You know, we'll just start out the frame itself. The spacers are aluminum. It has a double tooling arm design. You can actually put your tooling arm with its attachment in either one of these to suit a height change if you so desire. Typically what people do is they'll put the tooling arm with your grinding attachment in the top, and the bottom is reserved for a work rest of some variety. One of the things that caught my eye immediately on this design, which I think is so much better than just about any other of the grinders, if you look closely, this is the tightening mechanism for when you put a tooling arm into the machine. So you tighten this handle down. If you notice, what Rob did was Rob built a tab, and instead of having the tip of this bolt digging in to an aluminum tooling arm, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. This is the reason why I didn't like aluminum tooling arms. And this is a fairly new one that's only about a year old, and you can see how it's already digging into the aluminum. With this tab, that eliminates that. So I may become a fan of aluminum tooling arms again. The other thing you might have noticed, and we're going to do a video on it later, is I build my own tooling arms for a quick release, and they get set up with a 3/4 inch pin and a 3/4 inch socket. And that's the way all of my grinder attachments are. That way it's just easier to change them in and out, and I can also use them in any direction. More on that later. Okay, let's get back to this grinder. Again, thoughtful features like the tightening tab. I honestly have unbolted and looked at the tracking mechanism in this. It's a fairly simple design, but this is absolutely the best tracking mechanism I have ever seen on a grinder. I've seen some others that are somewhat similar, and I'm not going to go into tearing it apart and showing it to you because that's probably one of Rob's proprietary things, and I'm not giving anything away. But suffice to say, this is without a doubt the smoothest and best tracking that I've ever seen on a grinder. The other thing is it has the ratchet tensioning built into the machine. So it's a little hard for me to get used to. I'm used to working with the spring where I have to press out, pull down, tighten. Well, this, you just leave the tooling arm where it is and you can push it to wherever you want within the limits of the ratchet system. And basically all it is this tab. You can see right under here where it locks, and then this is your release. Also, you've got the spring over here tension, and it's just a real smooth, cool operating machine. Like I said, I've been doing this for 30 years, and frankly, there ain't nobody got nothing on KMG. Rob is on the ball, and he knows what he's doing, and I just think it's the best grinder for the money on the market. And I don't say that getting paid for anything. It's just Rob's good. He builds good machines. And this is a testament to they last. The other thing that's really cool about this machine is it's a vertical or horizontal machine. Most people are going to end up using this with some kind of a wheel attachment, whether it be a small wheel, big wheel, whatever. But again, this tab is just the cat's meow, man. You don't have to worry about jamming up any kind of tooling arms, making them bad. Most of the time there'll be a work rest of some variety in here coming up here so you can grind in this position. Simple flick of a lever flips it back over. Rob also put a locking handle on there for safety reasons, I'm sure. Fantastic idea. Gosh, probably the only thing that I've done is I've added this little spark / dust catcher to the back. Just some bent sheet metal that I screwed onto it. And that just keeps sparks from flying back. Probably the one thing that was tough for me to deal with this grinder is the height difference from here to the bench. Whereas this one was so close, I didn't have to worry about sparks flying and hitting walls and all this. Well, what I did here was I took one of my grinding magnets and all I did was screw a piece of sheet metal to it so I could go, and that just catches sparks from, if there are any that get by the guard. I'm going to run, or grab a belt, put it on here. Let's see, what have I got? I'll just pull this one off the other KMG. And this is one of my heavy grit, or heavy 50 grit belts. Get everything adjusted where it needs to be here. So you can tell I'm still new to the machine. But again, what's so cool about this machine, once you get this tooling arm pulled, all you got to do is just tighten here, and then it's a push for the ratchet, and you're done. Turn some power onto it. And watch this real close on the belt right here. Look how well this machine tracks. I mean, it's like nobody's business. It's just a great tracking machine. And if you want to grind, like I said, the other direction, horizontally, I mean, it's a freaking awesome machine, man. Let's see, flip it back over. Let's talk some more features on it. And again, I've got this one set up on a VFD, obviously, so I can speed it up, slow it way down. This takes a while to wind down. See, it kicks itself down. That's because I've got this steel hub. So this wheel alone weighs probably about 20 pounds. So it just takes a while to slow down. Let the power die down. And Taking it off's real easy. Here's the tab I spoke of to release the tension. Little push up. Come off with it. Attachment wise, I mean, attachments are only limited by your imagination. I'm going to hang this back up. Something as simple as a small wheel adjustment or small wheel attachment. I mean, obviously you can see the use of that. The belt goes under the dummy roller around and then down and around. Like I said, it's just an awesome machine. Honestly, I'm yet to find a fault with it. Probably, and it's just me getting used to it, is probably the closest thing I could see is I had to cut the bench down in order to make it fit. And if you're curious about that, there's another video about grinder height that we've produced. Take a look at that and you'll understand why. But, I mean, you really can't argue with success. This grinder, 20 plus years old, came from Rob at Beaumont. I've always had outstanding service from Rob. I mean, I send him an email and within a day or two I get a response.
That's why you bought from him in the first place.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and I won't mention the name, but when I bought this machine, I was sitting around with, and again, you got to remember, this was 20 plus years ago. I was sitting around with $3,500 in my pocket that I was willing to spend on a grinder, provided I got what I wanted. And I had my heart set on a specific machine, but the machine came with a Platen with 2-inch aluminum rollers top and bottom. I called them and asked them, I said, I'm willing to pay for it, whatever it takes. Can you just change the wheels out to 1.5 inches top, 3-inch on the bottom? They refused. Their response was, if it's not on the shelf, you're not getting it from us. And I said, guys, I'm willing to spend my money if you're willing to accommodate me. They said, nope. Well, I hung up the phone pretty much heartbroken. And then the very next day I heard about Rob at Beaumont. Looked him up on the internet, called him, spoke with him a little bit, asked him a few questions, and actually specifically asked him about building a Platen like this. And he said, well, let me call you back in a couple of days. Little did I know that Rob had got into his vehicle, driven what I understand at least a couple hours both ways, to look at a grinder that I had basically stolen this Platen idea from. And then he calls me back, goes, yep, we can do that for you, Ed. And he did it for me way back then at such a reasonable price that I didn't spend half the money that I had in my pocket. And then over the years, I've tried various attachments that Rob has built, this and that and the other. Pretty much everything Rob has built, at least that I have looked at, tried or used, has been just outstanding workmanship and materials. And, the 20 plus years of utilizing these machines and having that service says a lot about Rob himself. You're always going to hear me say it or see me write it on the forums, anywhere else you have contact with me. Don't spend your money on a cheap freaking grinder. Buy a good grinder. Save your pennies, buy a good one, and then you're never going to have to buy another one. The only time you have to buy a grinder is if you want another one. Proof's in the pudding, man. 20 plus year old Beaumont KMG, brand new KMG TX. They're both winning machines. But with this TX, quite frankly, Rob has outdone all the other machines like it, just in quality and workmanship. So anyway, that's Ed Caffrey's take on the KMG and particularly the TX machine. Fantastic machine, fantastic people, and fantastic service. So if you're looking for a grinder, yeah, some of you are going to jump and go, ow, that's a little expensive. But you've got the option. You can either spend big bucks on this machine and get the tilt, or you can spend it on their base machine, a little less money, and really have something that'll last you forever. So that's Ed Caffrey's take, as I said. And feel free to contact me with any questions. You can contact me through knifemakertraining.com. my website, caffreyknives.net, or our Facebook pages, which includes Knife Maker Training Facebook page, the Montana Bladesmith Facebook page, and my own personal Ed Caffrey page. So until next time, Tim and I are signing off. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.